everybody, welcome back to PSGL. George Morgan here, your commentator, alongside me, TK, who is going to be rounding off the season with me. Down the inside, absolutely possible scene. This is for the win between these two.
I'm on the edge of my seat.
He needs to get it done now.
Blakely will dive to the inside.
We're robust, we got our elbows out.
Ronner takes the lead.
Because here comes Alfie Butcher.
Can't really complain with that one.
It's not going to be easy. The pressure is on, of course.
Yarda Watmere is your champion.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back once again. Your weekly dose of Monday Evening Madness. I'm sure you're very excited for it. This is PSGL PSF1 coming at you once again, and we move from Silverstone a week ago. We head to China. We blast across the globe from Europe to Asia for the Chinese Grand Prix, round number 2 of season 43. Been around for quite some time. Last week was a really interesting race. We got the first real ideas of what the battery management and the racing and the flip-flop racing is going to look like on this game in PSGL on the console side. And now we're going to have a bit of a different kind of circuit. Much more medium and lower speed corners compared to Silverstone. The battery management will also, though, be a very important task. Still, I'm very much looking forward to taking all of you through it. In commentary corner, commandeering it once again, same as last week, myself, Tom Wilkinson, you and Paul alongside me. Ewan, how are you doing? How much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It should be a completely different challenge to Silverstone last time out. Of course, they're relatively similar tracks, but yeah, it's a different challenge in terms of battery as well. It's a different challenge because you've got a bit more battery around this track. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it and looking forward to seeing how these drivers do and if we see the familiar faces at the front.
Absolutely. Now, we did speak about Silverstone a little bit. We're going to have a look at the standings because obviously we've only had one round. So the standings are going to be the confirmed race results. Really great scrap at the end between Finlay and Luis Matijevich, who was a reserve, but I think has been promoted full time now, with Sasha rounding out your top 3. There were a couple of penalties applied. Ryder Dal, the pole sitter, had a bit of a difficult one, ending up down in position number 8 at the flag. Remember, top 10 scoring points, plus an extra one for pole position. And it is Finlay with that 4-point advantage at the summit. But from what we saw last week, Ewan, do you think we could be seeing a whole bunch of different drivers competing for the win this week, or at least competing for those major point-playing positions, considering how tightly congested it was?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It was extremely close in Silverstone, so we could see people who maybe prefer this track to Silverstone, and maybe they are worse at the battery, so they're going to be less affected by battery management around a track like this. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if there's any new faces that will come up and maybe pose a new challenge for the front runners.
We need to remember as well, Lifebout, who I think took the checkered flag in the lead, but had a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits, was relegated down to P12 in the end, so could be seeing Lifebout right at the forefront as well, along with Tony Richet. He got stuck in, Melwin Effman throughout the season as well, getting really stuck in with Ryder Dal, the pair of them. But you can see it at the top there, the tracks we're going to. Let's have a proper full look at the calendar, where we are heading around the glorious globe of Earth. Silverstone last week, China this week. Then we head to Spa in a week's time for the Belgian Grand Prix. And then our one and only break week. And that means we've got quite the run. 8 races on the spin, 8 weeks on the spin to complete season 43. As we go to Madrid, that's going to be interesting, especially with the changes to that chicane at the start of the middle sector. The Red Bull Ring in Austria, Imola, Las Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Bahrain. And then we round out the season in October, which feels like a hell of a long time into the future, at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. And we spoke a little bit, Ewan, about the calendar last week, but what do you really like about this mix of circuits that we're going to have on offer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a long calendar, so lots of different tracks, variation of tracks. I'm liking that Mexico-Brazil type area because those 2 tracks are very good for racing. And you've got Vegas, which is also extremely well. Of course, Imola, not on the calendar at the moment in real life, but on the calendar here. And that should be really interesting to see the drivers take on that. And then you have, of course, Brazil, Bahrain, Texas, all very technical, but tracks that you can properly go for overtakes. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Really nice mix of circuits, the best way to look at it. We're going to have to test all the different variables that everybody's got in their arsenal, all the different skill sets, and it should be the most well-rounded drivers that come to the top, the cream rising to the top, as they like to say. We've got a few minutes before we get going for qualifying. If you are new here, welcome in. Firstly, make yourself comfortable. Hopefully it's going to be a good show tonight. 18-minute qualifying session to start things off, and then a 50% race, which equates to, I think, 28 laps around the Shanghai International Circuit. And I can, in fact, check it. Yes, it is 28 laps around the Chinese Grand Prix circuit. And speaking of the devil, let's have a look at the place that we are going to be racing around this evening. Been on the calendar for some time, even though it has missed a couple of years due to COVID-related reasons. And it's a very interesting circuit configuration. You've got some real slow speed section, the Snow section right at the start of the lap, and then going up towards turns 11, 12, and the tricky long right-hander of turn 13. There's a really nice flow to the middle sector as well, and it is quite a well-rounded circuit where drivers also have to be careful of the tyre wear as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very windy circuit, but that doesn't mean you can't make moves. It's quite wide of a circuit. There's a few hairpins here and there, so yeah, you can definitely put some moves in here and there. The long straight from turn 13 to 14 is absolutely huge, and we should see some interesting battery deployments throughout that straight. Whether they deploy it right at the start or whether they deploy it near the end to get a move down at the hairpin. It's going to be really interesting. And of course, the hairpin down at turn 6, that should also be an overtaking move for the drivers.
Yeah, I think we're going to see drivers get a little bit creative, especially in those early stages, whether it's into turn number 1 and carrying all the way through the snail section. Turn 6, like you mentioned, really good opportunity to try and slide it down the inside. And with the way the battery recharging and management might work in that middle sector, we could potentially see moves into the double left-hander of turns 9 and 10. Not traditionally a favoured overtaking opportunity, but if you've got the overspeed, you've got the run on those drivers, you can really make something work. And of course, that heavy braking down into turn 14, the likelihood as well, we'll probably see drivers remaining side by side through the final corner as well. We aren't too far away from qualifying getting underway. 19 of the 20 odd drivers that we are scheduled to be having in the lobby as things stand. We can actually read out some of the drivers that won't be here this week. If you were looking for Snacks, who has been dropped to a reserve this season, so the reigning champion all but guaranteed to not be defending their crown. We're missing Fedi Mori, White Sheep, Volakongan, Gabbers, Legion Wards, and Lazad. I mean, we've got 19 drivers that have signed up, which is a little bit frustrating. Round 2, we can't even fill the 22-person lobbies, but that's the way it goes sometimes, isn't it? And we've had some issues with attendance in the past in PSGL on the console side, but 19 is more than enough to try and give us a good show.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be interesting to see who can come out on top today and see if any of the reserves like Matijevich, Lucas, and also another Luke to see if they can really shine and do their best to try and make the most of this opportunity to race. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they can do.
Absolutely. Welcome in to everybody that's joining us as we wait for qualifying to get going. Op Joe, you've just written Tom in the chat. Op Joe, hello to you if that's what you're doing. Thank you very much for that. We're going to hopefully put on a very enjoyable show for everybody. If you missed Silverstone last week, it was really exciting. We had a bit of a premonition. We thought potentially going into it that it was going to be a bit of a slogfest. If any of you watched the British Grand Prix on the 25 cars, and to be honest, throughout the majority of the ground effect era on these games, it was quite tricky. Dirty air adding into that in the 25 cars made overtaking really tricky, plus the tyre wear, plus the tyre temperatures. It wasn't a great watch. But we had a really enjoyable time, didn't we? And I think it set the bar, Ewan, pretty high going into the remaining 10 or so races. I think it is 11 race calendar that we've got.
Yeah, definitely. It was pretty surprising, actually, how good of a race that was, because there was lots of different battery management, tactics, strategy. So it was a really interesting one, and we definitely saw more overtakes than what we would normally see, because it was just so hard with the battery. It's such a battery limited track that it was quite easy to get overtakes done if you just pressed the energy button, and you would get a bit more horsepower. So yeah, it worked for some of the drivers. Let's see here in China if it's more of the same, or maybe it's more of what we saw in previous generation cars, where it's a bit more of a management, bit more of a strategy race, and then we'll see who can make the most of their opportunities if they get it.
Yeah, it should, as usual, be a regulation one-stop strategy. I can hear the beeps in my ear that tell me we are getting ready to go for our qualifying session. Can I sign up, Opjo? Yes, you can. There will be mid-season sign-ups that get open. I'm not 100% sure when they will happen, but there will be the opportunities as the season goes on to try and sign up and get back into the league racing stratosphere. And hello to Nathan Rich as well, legend, of course. Evening to you, Nathan. Hopefully you're having a fine Monday, as I have heard the beeps. And we are going to swap over because I am extremely delighted to say we are loading in to the lobby. 18 minutes on the clock. We're going to see who can come out on top. It's an interesting circuit, this, in qualifying, because it is a lot about feel. There's not too much grip out there. Got to try and find that rhythm, find that flow, especially through some of the very long and arduous corners. In particular, the snail section at the start of the lap doesn't get you into that kind of vibe as you kick off a qualifying lap, because there's the age of a run through turns 1 and 2. Then you hang it back round through 3 and 4. And then you've only got a little bit of respite before you're slamming the ankles on again down into turn 6. It's only when you get to that middle sector, isn't it, where the flow starts to come. The high-speed corners, you're really testing the true limits of these cars, albeit with a little bit of battery management.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one. You got to carry the speed around here, around this track. I think that's pretty key around this circuit. But yeah, also like you said, managing the battery is also pretty crucial. So yeah, that's what I expect to see today. But yeah, just carrying the speed at turn 1, it's pretty clumsy. But if you get it right, it does feel quite satisfying.
Absolutely. 19 in the session, and it is a little bit overcast, as you can just see there. Quite a lot of heavy cloud cover, and they're quite angry clouds as well. You can just see over the horizon there, over the bridge that goes across the start-finish line, as we wait to see who is the first to emerge out on circuit. As we've already had 20 plus seconds, it's going to be a Mercedes, I believe that is Lucas, coming out of the pit garage. And the real-life Constructors and Drivers Championship leaders are going to be the first. No, they're not, because they've been eclipsed by ASRT Kevin in the Haas car, that beautiful Gazoo Racing Haas livery. First onto the circuit, first to venture out to try and discover what the conditions are. Track temperature fairly low, as you would imagine, with the current conditions we've got. Not 100% sure if rain is scheduled. If it is, you would expect there's probably going to be a bit of a mad dash out of the pits.
Yeah, exactly. China is one of those tracks where weather is a factor. So yeah, rain could be a factor in this race or in this qualifying session. So we will have to wait and see by eye if the rain ever comes in this session. But that's going to be interesting to see, to keep an eye on. So yeah, Kevin will be the first one on the road. I'm pretty sure he was the first one last week as well. So he likes to get these laps in quite early.
Likes to get on the button straight away, which is what we enjoyed to see. Still a few cars in pit road at the moment, giving themselves a little bit of time, as Kevin already desyncing as we go through turns 11 and 12. That is absolutely good news, and hopefully not an omen of things that are to come. Trickiest parts of the circuit on a qualifying lap, the heavy braking zones. Got to make sure you get those right. It's very easy to lock up one of the front tyres into turn 6 or turn 14, and also turn 13 as well onto the back straight. Tricky traction zone, especially when the rear tyres are starting to overheat a little bit because you put them through their paces in the first couple of sectors. So got to be mindful of that in the race as well, of course, when you're starting to deal with tyre wear.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a long time to think about that turn 14 hairpin. You have the full straight, which is a good 10-15 seconds that you have to think about your braking zone and think about your turn-in point. It's hard on the brain mentally, but the best will find that apex point, find that braking zone, and they will get it right. But here comes Kevin, and around the first few corners then, this is going to be interesting to see these banker laps and see if Kevin can really throw the cat amongst the pigeons with his pace.
You can see the lifting already down into turn 6, cranks the steering lock on to get the car to rotate here, and there might be some rain in the race. That could be an exciting little dazzle for us to try and get involved with, as Kevin hooks it through turn number 8 and into turn 9, or up to turn 9 I should say as well. Double right-hander, got to be very precise with your inputs. Back of the car stepping out a little bit there for the Haas, as he just struggles to plant the loud pedal. But now you can open that straight line mode on the run down into turn number 11. Decent middle set for Kevin without being spectacular, of course, as he rolls it through turns 11 and 12 fairly nicely. Got to wait an age before you can plant the throttle pedal into the floor of the car, and then don't take it off until you're all the way down this back straight.
Yep, and then here you got to deploy all the battery you've saved up over the course of a lap so far. This is where you need to find that time with the battery and look for your apex point, look for the 100-meter board, and he brakes, flicks it in to that corner of turn 14, and he's looking at the final corner. Can he get this right into it and keep it within track limits? And he does.
Very easy to invalidate over the curves through the final corner. 131.3, the benchmark that Kevin has laid down. We've got a Mercedes in the final sector. That'll be Lucas, of course, up to the line or up to the penultimate and final corner we fly with the silver arrow. Do we get into the 130s? Not quite. 31.1 for Lucas to take over at the top as the Aston Martin of Ryderdale goes 2 milliseconds faster. Nice little lap time there. Here's Melwin Effman, who was one of the drivers in contention to pick up a victory in Silverstone a week ago, and he has absolutely blitzed it. First driver into the 30s, and by some tune, as Finlay, last week's winner, goes second fastest, 31 flat. What a lap time that is, though, from Melwin Effman, laying down a very early banker lap and a very strong benchmark.
Yeah, that is a statement from Melwin, 3 tenths faster than Finlay at the moment. So that is incredible. Otsuzito up to 4th place as well. So that's a pretty decent lap for him. But yeah, that is a statement lap for Melwin.
Matijevic P5, 31.1. Still nobody in the 30s. Up to P9 is Polly Mackey, first appearance of the season. Matt, couple of tenths down on what we saw from Kevin through sectors 1 and 2. Slightly wide of the apex through 14 as well. Just turned 16 left to negotiate in the Red Bull Racing car. Can he get into those low 31s? He can. 30.8. Really strong final sector from Matt. Fastest of anybody. And that gets him provisionally on the front row. Tony Richet hasn't got a competitive time on the board, going again out there. Lifebout still waiting for a lap time 2, along with Predestinato in the Cadillac, who jumps up into position 8. A member of a very big club, 131.1 club.
Yeah, there's so many drivers in that 31.1, so that is really interesting. In that midfield from 6th all the way down to 11th, all in the 31.1s, it's quite interesting. But Matt able to challenge Melwin with that time, 30.8, is pretty decent for the Red Bull man, and he's going to be happy with that. Comfortably in P2, pretty much 2 tenths quicker than Finlay behind.
And there will be differing battery strategies throughout this qualifying session. Some of them saving it for this long run down the back straight. Little lock up for Lifebout puts him slightly wide of the apex as the McLaren goes off in front. And Tony Richet joins the well-populated 131.1 club. P9 for Tony Richet. Lifebout car a little bit reluctant through the final corner as he goes P15 on a 31.3. Needing to find a little bit more pace. But after the first runs, it's Melwin Effman leading the charge on a 30.7, with Matt a very commendable P2 on a 130.8. And just to answer Opjo's questions, you can't jump in the commentary corner with us right now. But if you want to get involved in commentary, there will be sign-ups that are going on throughout the season and post-season as well in the break. So if you want to try and get involved, then by all means, reach out.
Yeah, exactly. The more commentators, the better. And just commenting on Lifebout there, it looked a little bit messy in that last sector. So he will have time to find in that last sector. So that will be one to look out for. But he is a little bit out of sync with most people in the box getting new tyres on and getting back out there. Lifebout is a little bit out of sync, and he's still trying to get himself back to the box.
But Kevin back out there already, along with Ryderdale and Lucas. Ryderdale, last week's pole sitter, currently only just nestled inside the top 10 on that 31.166. And just 4 milliseconds separating Tony Richet, Ryderdale and Lucas, with a lot of drivers, as we mentioned, in that 131.1 region. From P6 down to Pierre Sharp in P12. That's just 700ths of a second, 600ths of a second. And then that big gap, which is interesting. Don't usually see that. Big gap separating the top 2 as things stand. 30.7, 30.8. We'll have to wait and see if anybody can get anywhere near that, or whether it's just some slightly overly conservative banker lap times from the big guns, or whether Melwin and Matt have actually got the ERS strategies absolutely spot on.
Yeah, that is a huge lap for Melwin. Of course, we saw him in the wars last time out with a few incidents last time out at Silverstone. But if he can stay in pole position and run away, he won't have to suffer from any incidents or even have the chance of suffering for any incidents. So, yeah, that's a great lap. But let's see if he can hold on. There's still... we estimate about 2 laps to go for all the drivers. So yeah, let's see if the winner last time out, Finlay, can do anything about that.
Kevin to step on it once again, looking to improve on his lowly P16 as things stand. 31.396, a time that he has to try and improve on as we hold it through turn 1, endlessly long turn 1, as the front left tyre screaming for a bit of mercy. Now flick it in to turn number 3, through turn 4, which is just a little bit of a kink, as is turn number 5. It looked fairly neat and tidy for Kevin as we head towards the second sector split, and he's up by just under a tenth, again lifting off but not quite as aggressively as he did for his first run. Cranks the steering lock once again, hustling the car through the low speed corner of turn 6, and now keeping it pinned through 7, dropping it down 1 cog into 6th, into turn 8 as well. Do we drop it down? Yes, into 5th, into 4th. We head through the double left now of turns 9 and 10. Back of the car, not quite as unstable as it was on his first run. Looking fairly nice there. Fairly comfortable, has to be said for Kevin. Finding a 10th and a half, which will take him up towards the 31.2. He needs to find a little bit more, though, in this final sector.
Yeah, I was looking okay in that second sector. It was a little shaky on the exit of 6, but yeah, he's looking decent at the moment, and he's finding some natural improvement. So down the long straight once again from turn 13 to turn 14, and he once again needs to find his breaking point and maybe find a little bit more time if he wants to challenge for top 10.
Again, just drifting it through turn 14, lifted off at 150, braking at 100, 50-metre board for the final corner. Yellow flag is out for cars getting out of the way. Little bit scruffy through the final corner, but Kevin to the line, 30.992. Big improvement in that final sector. Third driver to break the 131 barrier. As we can see, Melwin Effman finding time through Sector 1. Finlay finding a decent chunk of time as well. The big gun's starting to find a little bit more, but will Melwin Effman just lower that benchmark by even more and keep himself a little bit of distance ahead of everybody else?
Yeah, he's looking good at the moment, but that was a great lap from Kevin, finding so much time in that last sector, and he is improving at the moment. So yeah, a really interesting lap from Kevin, but let's see what these front runners can do like Finlay.
Not too many other improvements out there. Chiquita P5 at the moment, 31 flat. Here is your championship leader, Finlay. Do we get into the 30s? Yes. Finding a 10th and a half to go back up into P3. Ryderdale still in the pits. Lifebout starting another flyer. Matt is out there improving through the first sector. Melwin Effman, though, on rails at the moment. Up by a 10th and a half again. Needs to try and keep it really aggressive turning through the final corner. Just pulling gears up to the line. 30.7 becomes 30.6. He's nearly got a third of a second between himself and the chasing pack.
Yeah, that is another great lap for Melwin. He is looking absolutely hooked up around this track at the moment. And Otsuzito gets up to P2 as well, 30.7. So he is in the mix as well, a tenth and a bit behind Melwin. So Otsuzito showing some pretty good pace in that Ferrari.
Pedestinato into the 30s as well, 39.93 to go 7th fastest. Tony Richer was up by a little bit. Drama for Luis Matijevic out there somewhere as well. A long way off the pace. And I think going again as we jump on with Tony Richer. He's got some really decent qualifying pace. We see a Mercedes there lawn mowing in the grass on the inside of turn number 13. Ryderdale back in the session. They can't head out again with just under 6.5 minutes to go. Back the car, a little bit unsettled for Tony Richer through the final corner. His teammate Carpel up to P11 just in front, 31.1. Chiquita into the 30s as well, 39.41 or 9.14. Tony Richer all over the show, doesn't find an improvement. Scruffy final sector, contributing heavily to that. Just behind is Milan Diorsi up to the line, who finds half a tenth but still only P16.
Yeah, that was pretty scrappy from Tony Richer there in that last sector. You could just see he was fighting the tyres, fighting the time, trying to find whatever time there was in there. But it seems like there was not much in that last sector as Pierre Sharp goes up to P4. It's a good showing for Ferrari at the moment, 2nd and 4th.
Really strong lap time that from Pierre Sharp as Lifebout, another driver to make a mistake and go again. The Ferrari gets out of the way. We've got just over 5.5 minutes left in the qualifying session. One run left for the drivers returning to the pit lane. Luis Matijevic, I wanted to pick up to the line. Doesn't actually improve there. 22 milliseconds down on his personal best. Polly Mackie up into P9 with an improvement as well a few moments ago. Top 8 all inside the 1 minute 31 barrier. That's really the benchmark that you need to find. But Melwin Effman looking incredibly composed and strong out there at the moment. Very good first lap, which I think would still be good enough for provisional pole, and take a decent step as well into the 30.6s on his second run.
Yeah, he's put the pressure on every single other driver to try and find pole, because he is looking extremely well. And Kazizel down in P11 is currently on a lap, getting a little bit of a slipstream from the V car behind, and he's looking pretty strong as well. So let's see what this McLaren man can do. Finley up in P5, Kazizel down in P11, but can Kazizel get into the 1 minute 30s?
Throws it through the final corner, up to the line, does find an improvement. Into the 130s we go. P5 and P7 now for the McLarens. Matijevich returning to the pits. Here is Lifebout, who was up by a little bit through sectors 1 and 2. But I think he's bailing on that one, and does. There must have been a mistake somewhere in the final sector. So as we head into the final runs, it is as we were out in front, with Melwin Effman leading the way. Matt didn't find an improvement, so second becomes third for the lead Red Bull drive, with now a couple of Scarlet Ferraris surrounding him inside the top 4.
Yep, here comes the last runs then. This is the most crucial one, and if you have a good banker lap, you can fully send it now. Like Melwin can fully put everything into this last lap, because he already has a really nice lap, over a tenth faster than Otsuzito, the closest running man. So yeah, he can fully send it. Otsuzito can go for it as well, because he has got some decent position at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to take it. It looks like Melwin is the favourite at the moment, but you never know. The likes of Otsuzito, Matt, Pierre, who put in a really good lap, surprisingly, and Finley up in 5th. They are all contenders that can squeeze and go for pole, but it's going to be tough, because it was a great lap for Melwin.
Yet to see Rydal out there as well. Only did the one run at the start of the session. Disconnected, hasn't been out since, but is back in the lobby. As Lucas a little bit out of sync here, just over 3 to go, out on what could be his final flying lap. Left himself the opportunity to go again if this goes awry. And maybe a little bit of fuel still on board that car. Going to be touch and go, whether he gets a couple of stabs at this, but we'll wait and see as he powers through the snail section, out of it, down to turn 5, flat as you like, into turn 6, down by 17 milliseconds. Not the start of the lap that he would have wanted. Back steps out midway through turn 6, and that throws that first attempt in the bin. And that is sometimes the benefit, isn't it, of going out a little bit earlier. If you do mess it up, you've got this opportunity to go again. If, and it's a big if, he's got the fuel on board to go again.
Yeah, definitely, and it's crucial that he's got the fuel in the car, because if not, he's not going to have time to get back into the box and then get back out again. So yeah, let's hope for his sake that he's got the fuel in the car to go again. But yeah, that was just a little bit too much of a push down to turn 6. It was a lock of the rear and braking a little bit too late, pushing a little bit too hard, and yeah, a mistake. But yeah, for his sake, let's hope that he has the fuel.
Let's Carp LT go through. It's going to be an interesting one. Handing over the track position to the car that was also on an outlap, as you messed it up yourself. And now going to slot into second in this train with the Aston Martin just behind. Is that Rydal? I'm going the wrong way on the timing charts. It is not Rydal. It is Lifebout. So we return to the Racing Bulls car. Very competitive machine in real life, of course, leading the midfield. On equal cars, though, or equal as much as they can be with the way that this game works. But Carp round the final corner to start their final flying lap of the session. The clock is below 90 seconds, so these are the lap times that will absolutely have to count as we charge into turn 1 with the Racing Bull.
Yeah, it's a crucial lap for Carpelt for V-Carbs, 12th and 13th at the moment, Tony Vichet in 13th. So yeah, Carpelt needs to find some time if he wants to challenge the top 10. Ideally, he needs to be in the 1 minute 30s. That has been really the goal, he is about half a tenth up at the moment, and that is a pretty good first sector if he wants to challenge the top 10, and he just needs to find some more time, but charge the battery through this second sector so you have enough for the huge long straight between turn 13 and 14.
Kept it quite tight over to the inside on the run into turn 7. Bit of desyncing through turns 9 and 10, but matters not. Found some time in sector 1 as he continued to chip away at that in sector 2. Yes, quarter of a second up. Eyes on stalks a little bit here, because if he finds more time in the final sector, this should be a big leap up the leaderboard for Carp in the Racing Bulls car. Tony Richet just behind. Important name to look at, also up by a tenth and a half. A little bit slower than his teammate, but both Racing Bulls finding time. What about Lucas? Will it show us up by a tenth? So this leaderboard could really shuffle here with drivers finding time in the latter stages.
Yeah, the track's improving. It's the last few laps of qualifying is that's a little bit wayward of the apex, but it's still good. Still carried a lot of speed, but can he find time to get into the top 10?
Over the line we go. P8, poor final sector for Carpel, means that they won't find the improvement necessary they were hoping for. Lucas to the line, 31-1, not going to be good enough. Just behind is Lifebout, who's only P16. Problems there for Lifebout. Tony Richet to the line, does nail the final sector and goes 7th fastest as a Haas up to the line. That is Luke in P13 now on a 31 flat. We turn our attention to the Ferraris. Otzazito finding time. Chiquita to P3. Matt coming up towards the final couple of braking zones as well. All to play for here, with everybody still out on the road.
Yep, Otzazito finding some time, and he's got some time in hand as Finley down in 6th. Your winner last time out, Pierre Sharp, up to 4th in the Ferrari. But what can Melwin do? He is a little bit down, so he's not struggling as Matt is up into P2.
Should be safe here, though. Melwin doesn't improve, stays provisionally on pole. Matt back onto the front row. Otzazito not finding the time that he needs, though. His teammate P5 ahead of Finlay. Otzazito to the line. Really good final sector. Can't quite steal it with a buzzer beater. Misses it by 200ths of a second. Sasha out there for Mercedes. Can't improve. Kevin 30.9 stays P13. Kazizel in the other McLaren, I should say. Teammate P6. All playing with fire with track limits through the final corner. P10 stays P10. In the second McLaren car, but it was Melwin Effman didn't find an improvement on his final run, but was head and shoulders for the majority of the session ahead of everybody else.
Yep, exactly. From lap 1 of that qualifying session, Melwin showed some great pace. It was closer than he was probably expecting at the end now, of Otzazito getting ever so close. But yeah, in the end, Melwin had the time and yeah, had the time in hand really to just fully send it and go for it. And yeah, it's a fantastic lap for Melwin, and that is going to be very encouraging going into the race. But yeah, Matt also a good lap to get up to 3rd place. So yeah, this brings up a pretty good race with Melwin having the confidence in the upper hand.
Difficult one for Aston Martin. Both of them inside the top 4 a week ago in Silverstone. Both of them outside the top 13. Rydell P14, Lifebound I think was P16 or 17 there. So work to do for two drivers that had really strong pace a week ago in Silverstone. But as we head into the race, we've been told there might be a little bit of weather to contend with at the moment. Or as we were though, with heavy cloud cover, maybe the sun just poking through on the left-hand side, the top left through those clouds. But no rain as yet. And bear in mind, as yet.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting because you need to be ahead of your teammate really, because if you get hung up to dry and have to box one lap later, or you're going to have to double stack with your teammate, and that's going to lose you lots of time. So it's going to be interesting to see who, if teammates are close together, they're probably going to be fighting pretty hammer and tong to get the position over their teammates, because that is going to be crucial, and that could cost you seconds if you're behind your teammates. So yeah, that is going to be good to look at, but let's see if Melwin can hold on and make the right calls with rain in the air.
Had an opportunity as Polymacky's left the session. That is slightly concerning timing. Hopefully we're not having a lobby reset. I will just check what's going on. Game crashed. We'll just hold our thoughts there because I don't think we'll have a reset for that one, but just need to bear in mind Predestinato's gone as well. So... and now Luke has disconnected also. So this could be us having a little bit of an interlude.
That is unfortunate. Of course, there's been a few crashes on this game before, but let's see if they decide to do it as Lifebout also crashes. So that could be a restart.
Yes, I think we probably will be having a restart coming with 4 of our drivers crashing. That of course means if we do restart this, we're just going to see what happens here until we get the official announcement. But if we do restart, everybody will get the soft compound tyres back, because of course they used them all in qualifying. Find it unlikely that they're going to be using soft tyres unless we're seeing rain coming very, very quickly. But we're still waiting on confirmation as to whether we are going to restart this one. We just need to bear in mind what the situation will be and how it develops over the next couple of minutes. But a really interesting qualifying session, wasn't it? Carp is another one to go. I think this is probably going to be us restarting.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely an interesting qualifying session. Of course, Melwin showing some great paces. People are joining back, so hopefully we can get going. But they're obviously going to be a little bit disadvantaged. They might have to be in AI for the first few seconds of the race, which is not going to be ideal. But yeah, a good qualifying session, and it poses us well for the race.
Hearing that the weather was going to be very exciting. So hopefully we don't restart, because that makes me think we're going dry at the start, then we head into wet conditions, then it might dry up towards the end. Little bit of disagreement going on, which we'll just wait and see. Still no official confirmation that we will be restarting this. Well, remember, 28 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix line weight ahead of us. Finlay, who starts from P6, your winner a week ago in Silverstone. Last week's pole sitter Ryderdale down the field in P14.
Yep, and just commenting on Finlay, that's still a pretty decent result for him, and I think a championship like this is going to be won through consistency, and Finlay has done a good job so far. He's still in and around those front positions, and if he can just get these calls right with the rain, if we don't get a restart, that will be very interesting to see how Finlay does from 6th on the grid.
I think we are restarting now. So we're going to miss out on what would have been a very exciting potential weather situation. Matievich is back in. People are getting back in. Obviously, they won't be able to take control of the car. The problem is we've had a lot of drivers disconnect. I think a third of the lobby has disconnected. And yeah, Ryder's gone as well. I think this will be us restarting this one and going again. Yeah, everybody jumping out, unfortunately. That will just cool the excitement that we were potentially going to be witnessing. It's fine. Frustrating, of course, but yeah, sometimes we have to deal with this little bit of adversity when it arrives. And it, of course, means, like we said, soft compound tyres will be delivered back to the drivers. I don't know how much they're going to be using them, but who knows? Maybe they fancy it. We'll wait and see.
Yep, exactly. It's going to be interesting because, yeah, like you said, they're going to have tyres to be used as, yeah, it's going to be interesting if anyone starts on the softs and if they're going to change the weather at all. So, yeah, we will have to wait and see.
Just seeing. You obviously can't see it at the moment. Well, we'll bring it up, actually, so you can see the absolute anarchy that's going on as we prepare for this lobby reset. Absolute open lobby stuff. There's Melwin Effman slamming it into a McLaren, a Lenovo tyre barrier. It's Matt leading the way. Look at the absolute chaos that's ensuing. We've got intermediate tyres on some cars. That makes me think that maybe rain was arriving very quickly at the start or after the start of this race, which is disappointing that we're going to miss out on that one. As you can see, a lot of drivers there were on the intermediates. But alas, we will have to go again. We go again. That famous quote.
Yeah, it looks like it was already raining there, so that would have been really interesting with some people on the dry tyres, but rain already in the air and starting. So yeah, that would have been extremely interesting, but of course we cannot go racing if almost half the grid have to leave because the game has crashed for them. So yeah, it's unfortunate because that would have probably been really, really exciting. But that's the game, and you just have to move on, and hopefully we'll get some more rain because China, you never know with the weather around there.
History of having a little bit of moisture falling from the skies. Apologies for the fan that's just appeared in between qualifying and the race as well. It's quite hot, as people that are currently in the United Kingdom will be experiencing and have been experiencing for what feels like the last 80 weeks. It's not on full blast, so hopefully you can't hear it. But if it was on full blast, I would be looking very much like I'd be in a wind tunnel. And they were doing some aerodynamic testing on me. We have got a new lobby, so we'll be riding into that one very, very shortly. It'll be a little bit of an interlude, of course, bit of a 5-minute pause on proceedings as we get everybody in, and then we get the lobby grid set as well.
Yep. and let's hope that we get more of the same from qualifying, because that was a pretty interesting qualifying. Lots of familiar faces at the front of the field, so yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Melwin can hold on and if he can keep out of the wars and not get into any collisions, because we saw that was what cost him last time, even with his superb pace, because remember he had some really good pace. He went up around 3 positions on lap 1, and then he was faster than most people around him, but just getting into incidents, it really cost him. So let's see if he, as a pole sitter, can approach the race differently and make the most of it now.
Yeah, just got embroiled a little bit, didn't he, in the second half of that race. Had a really good strategy, actually. Undercut everybody, got himself up into P2, I think it was, in the train behind Lifebout, who obviously had that 10-second penalty. And just got a little bit embroiled, like we said, in the skirmishes, the bumps and scrapes that were going on that just pushed him a little bit further back. There was a bit of contact between himself, and I think it was Ryderdal that took both of them realistically out of contention when they were fighting for the net race lead. But we, alas, as I've said a couple of times, we go once again. Just while we have the little break, let's have a look at where we're going to be heading. Firstly, in the next few weeks, 7 days' time, we head back over to Europe for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa, and then our one and only break week before we reconvene for Madrid, Austria, Imola, Las Vegas, Mexico, Brazil, Bahrain, and Texas in a run of 8 races in 8 weeks to round out season 43 of PSGL. First one, of course, on the F1 26 DLC. And if you want to work out or want to find out what happened a week ago in Silverstone, there are your drivers' standings. Finlay leading the way ahead of Luis Matijevic, and then Sasha in the Mercedes, Matt Chiquita, Melwin Effman, who we just spoken about, Tony Richet, Ryderdal, Wards, and Lucas, your point scorers. 17 points total up for grabs, 16 down to 1 for the top 10 finishes, and then an extra point for pole position, which of course for this week has gone to Melwin Efferman, who moves up to 6 points level with Chiquita.
Yeah, looking at those standings there, you see Otsuzito down at the 16th, of course not getting points last time out, finishing 16th, but he's looked pretty good in qualifying both last week and this week. So yeah, I expect him to try get some points on the board this week because he's shown some good pace, but let's see if his qualifying pace can really translate into race pace and racecraft. Let's see if his racecraft can be good. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how he does today.
Absolutely. When is PCF1? Hopefully not too far away. And that's all I'm going to say on that one because I don't know. And that's as short an answer as I can possibly give. But we've obviously got the PC side that's going ahead from F2 downwards on a Thursday, and there have been some really exciting races. Obviously, they come up before, so they've already had their Chinese Grand Prix, and they visited Silverstone first as well. So they were thrown at the deep end, if you like. They were the first guys to really attack in PSGL on these new cars and with these new regulations. Everybody is in the lobby. We're just waiting for Melwin Effman to select his car, and then we'll be Writer's Reign to go again 15 minutes after we potentially should have been. But, you know, what can you do sometimes, eh?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just a clean slate for all the drivers. Of course, like you said earlier, there's going to be soft compound tyres that the drivers could use at their disposal this time. So yeah, let's see if anyone decides to start on the softs. I expect not, because the medium and hard seem to be the race tyres around most tracks. So unless there's weather involved, I expect it to be a medium hard or a hard medium. Maybe people at the back looking maybe to go long on the hards and then go on the mediums for a stint right at the end to try and make the most on low fuel. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And maybe even the softs, if there's a late safety car, all the drivers have those softs now at their disposal.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this potentially last week, but from the races that I've seen and the races that I have commentated on as well, there seems to be a preference from certain people on the medium hard side compared to the hard medium side. That seems to be the trend. Whether that reigns true as we continue to develop setups and people get more comfortable with the way that racing works and tyre management works on this game, we'll have to wait and see. And I might be completely proven wrong by everybody starting on the hard tyres and going to either the rain or going for the mediums in the latter stages. No beeps in my ear just yet telling me that we're about to go, but I have seen that we are loading into the session. And as I pull this scene up, hopefully it's the right one, everybody. Ta-da! There we are. Weather is exactly the same, so that's worked out rather nicely. Once again, heavy cloud cover.
Yeah, that should be really interesting. Overcast conditions, so maybe rain in the air, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see if drivers decide to go on the softs if the rain is ever approaching, or maybe the mediums, because the mediums do seem like a very solid race tyre. So yeah, let's see how Melwin does from P1. That's going to be crucial for him to hold on to pole position for his win hopes, and let's see down to Finley how he can do. Championship leader at the moment, of course, winning last time out. Let's see how he does.
Yeah, fascinating to see what goes on. Whether we'll get a weather update from somebody at some point, we'll have to wait and see if we have the PSGL version of Carol Kirkwood jumping in the chat. If you're from the outside of the UK, you'll have absolutely no idea who that is. But if you're inside the UK, hopefully that tickles you, because with the weather for about 30 years or something. But we wait to see what happens. Short run down into turn 1, but invites quite a lot of chaos with the way that it's laid out, doesn't it?
Yeah, all the drivers are pretty close together in those first few corner sequences because it's pretty slow corners. It's like a snail corner because you're going pretty slow around those corners. It's pretty technical, so it's going to be interesting. If you go around the outside, you have more speed that you can carry and you have the ideal line, which is better. But if you're on the inside, you will have the better ideal racing line going into turn 6. So yeah, it's ideal if they can get through that safely and cleanly, because if they get damage, that's pretty much race over with the quality of the grid here.
Absolutely. Makes it imperative that you do keep your nose clean in those first couple of corners. First 4 corners, in fact. The snail section comprises of Melwin Effman on pole, Otsazito lining up alongside, separated by just 0.02 of a second. In qualifying, Melwin Effman led for pretty much the whole way through, fastest throughout the runs, fastest after all 3 runs, I think he was. Obviously, he was at the end of the 3rd one, because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be starting on pole position. But Otsazito, the only one to really get that much closer to him. I think Matt was within 0.1 of a second of Melwin Effman by the end of the session, or maybe Chiquita in the Audi. But we wait for the setups to be loaded in, of course, once again, because we have had that lobby reset. The tyre strategies to be applied as well. Sorry.
It'll be interesting to see how the Aston Martins do. Of course, a pretty bad qualifying after a good race last week out. So if the Aston Martins can make some ground, China is a track that you can overtake. Maybe it won't be as chaotic as Silverstone, with it being less battery limited as Silverstone. Let's see how the Aston Martins do, because they showed some good pace last time out. Let's see if they can find some pace in the race.
Keep an eye out for those green machines. I won't leak anybody's tyre strategies, but Melwin Effman on pole from Otsazito, Matt Chiquita, Pierre Charp, your top 5, Finlay Predestinato, Lewis Matievich, Tony Richet and Kazizel, the top 10 starters. They were separated by just under 1/3 of a second in our 18-minute qualifying session. The anticipation's building here.
Yeah, it's a pretty long wait for us, because they're all getting their setups, getting their strategies ready, adjusting the fuel. You can run pretty low fuel because of how much lifting you do for the batteries. So that's probably what the drivers are doing right now.
Let's get grooving, everybody. Shorter run down to turn 1. Melwin Effman taking on Otsazito on that run. Alpine versus Mercedes, or Ferrari, I should say. And we are racing for the Chinese Grand Prix. Decent start from Otsazito from second. Has to be covered off by Melwin Effman, who swings back over to the left-hand side, pins it around the outside, and the pole sitter retains the lead of the race. Pierre Charp battling away with Finlay, who taps the back of Matt, who's into the back of Otsazito, who's slammed round. Absolute bedlam going on. Otsazito sent tumbling down the field. Aston Martin a rider down. Backwards in the back of shot as well. Melwin Effman getting away with it. I think there was a big concertina effect. Finlay into the back of Matt, who went into the back of Otsazito, and that was a big kerfuffle scuffle going on with the leading contenders. Predestinato losing places as well. Matijevic up 3 from 8th into position 5. Good start for Kazizel as well. Jakita must have been involved too, losing a few from P4 down to 7th. And then the wounded Ferrari of Otsazito, a little bit wild and a little bit ragged there as he charges down the inside of Jakita into turn 9. Bit of a bump and run as he forces it through turn number 10. The Audi keeping it held around the outside, still side by side, but I think unless we are very brave around the outside into turn number 11, which we're not quite with Jakita, it is P7 for Otsazito. Crazy start though.
Yep, Otsazito was eager around the outside there, but it just didn't quite work out. He got tagged round and down to 7th. He's used a lot of battery now, so will the likes of Jakita go for it as here comes Pierre Sharp on Finley, who's dropped back a bit for Melwin. Melwin already getting away, but Pierre Sharp down the inside. But he spun around, and both Ferraris have been spun around in that first lap, and Finley is back up to 2nd, but after tagging round Pierre Sharp.
Second Ferrari pointing in the wrong direction on the opening lap. Both of them with problems. Luke in the Haas into the pit lane as well. Disaster class for the Scarlet cars. At least Otsazito can continue on in a fairly competitive position. It's allowed Melwin Effman, though, to stretch his legs and scamper off into the distance out front. 1.6 seconds ahead of Finlay. Last week's winner, of course. Matt in P3 ahead of Luis Matijevic. Gazizel from 10th on the grid up into the top 5. Otsazito, Jakita, Tony Richet, Carp and Predestinato your top 10.
Yep, it was a great start from Finley, up 4 positions from 6th on the grid, so that is a great start for him. As Lifebout is challenging Lucas for P14, but Lifebout in 15 up 2 positions from 17th on the grid after Pierre Sharp, and the likes of Kevin as well dropping back, so Lifebout just making the most of that, but still on the back of this train, so he will be looking to make some moves, but it's going to be a long day for him down in 15th.
Predestinato under a little bit of pressure in the middle sector, courtesy of the second Audi of Milan Diorsi. Hard tyres for Tony Richet in position number 8. Lucan Rideout out into the pits, strapping on the hard compound tyres as well, with everybody else favouring the yellow walled mediums as we blast down the back straight for the second time. Matt closing up to the back of Finlay, doesn't fancy it into the final hairpin, but Finlay exits stage left there as he locks both tyres up, takes a trip off the road, rejoins, spat straight into the path of Matt, and Matt has to concede defeat on that occasion into the final corner. A little bit scruffy opening couple of laps from Finlay. Yes, he's made up place, but he's leaving bits of McLaren paint, a papaya paint, strewn across the road. Another car to the outside of turn 1 now, with Matt trying to steal second place finally from Finlay. Very, very wide there as Finlay keeps it pinned to the inside. Will now be given the cold shoulder through turn 3. A little bit of lag there. Looked like a bit of a lag bubble sending Finlay wide. Luis Matijevic says, thank you very much. I'll have a piece of the action. Finlay definitely lagging and jumping around just a little bit. But into turn number 6 should have third place covered. Another lock-up for the McLaren, but this time does manage to successfully slam those anchors on.
Yeah, Finley under pressure after his mistake down at turn 14, and that is really costing him because Matt is up to 2nd, and they're 3 seconds behind Melwin now in the lead, and Melwin is absolutely going to be so happy right now because he is looking good. He's not getting pressured by anyone behind. He's got a 3-second margin, so he can respond to any undercuts. As here comes Otsazito up the inside of Kazizel, and Otsazito up to P5, so that is good for Ferrari, a good recovery from a bad start.
Not good if you're driving a Haas, not good if you're driving an Aston Martin. 16th, 17th, 18th and 19th battling for the wooden spoon. Finlay under the cosh once again, this time the Alpine of Luis Matijevic. Kazizel ducking out of the slipstream, trying to cool the car down. Matt this time with a double lockup into turn 14, slightly wide of the apex. Finlay not close enough to slide it back alongside. He's still very much looking in his mirrors. Just behind the 2 Racing Bulls into combat. That's Carp getting ahead of Tony Richet, who's out there on the hard compound tyres. Cold track temperature, cold ambient temperature, struggling to fire these white-walled hard compound tyres up. Milan Diorsi already past Predestinato. Thought about it for one moment into turn 1.
Yeah, and it was a great start for Matijevic, up 4 positions from 8th on the grid, and he is right in this front train for P2. So yeah, a great start for Luis in the Alpine, 4th at the moment, and he's going to be looking to try and challenge this podium, with Finlay making lots of mistakes at this start and taking out both Ferraris pretty much. So yeah, let's see if that goes for Stewards Room post-race, but what we can see at the moment is that he is struggling to find the pace, already 7 tenths behind Matt.
Yeah, I think Matt's probably a little bit fortunate that he didn't get properly caught up in that. He was in the middle of it. Finlay into the back of Matt, who went into the back of Otsazito. All three of them still running inside the top 5. Same can't be said for Pierre Sharp after getting that tap through turn 14 at the end of the opening lap. Down in, coincidentally enough, position number 14. I don't know if you saw it there as well. Lifeboat had crashed in the pit lane entry. Whether that was intentional or not, I'm not too sure. Doing almost a Lewis Hamilton, but just going a little bit further, not getting stuck in the non-resistant gravel that isn't there anymore. Instead, having a chat with Barrier. As we fly down the back straight once more, Tony Richet, I think, having to defend again because Milan Diorsi's right there, and the Audi does throw a move to the inside of turn 14. Tony Richet has the high road on the outside, and Milan with that tighter line on the inside just had to be a little bit careful, a little bit compromised at the apex, the pinch point through turn 14. And for the time being, Tony Richet still keeping that 9th position within his grasp, but working hard to get these tyres working, and I think just starting to get into a position where he's back on a level playing field.
Yeah, exactly. Tony Richet had the better line through that turn 14 corner, and he was able to carry more speed to hold that position there in P9. But yeah, the two V-carbs are looking pretty racy together, and Milan Dorsi also getting in the mix there for those lower points positions. But yeah, pretty spicy racing there for 8th on the grid. So yeah, it's settled down a little bit here as Finlay finding a bit more pace, settling in now, and actually showing some pretty decent pace now. He is looking decent as Matijevich has dropped off a little bit on this lap. But let's go down to look at Polymarki overtaking Predestinato down at turn 10, and that's pretty good. And here comes Lucas also on Predestinato. And that's pretty close. Predestinato on the inside. Can he hold that? And Predestinato has lost 2 positions just like that. He tries to hold it and in turn 13, but he ran out of road there, and Predestinato down to 13th.
Cadillac bundled off the road. We could be seeing Luis Matijevich moving forward as well. Ducks over to the inside. Lock up again from Finlay into turn 14. Rolls out the red carpet for a couple of cars from P3. Drops down to P6 behind his teammate. Second time he's got his braking all wrong into the final hairpin of turn 14. And through the last corner of 16 we fly. Finlay making a couple of early blunders here. A little bit scrappy from himself. Just behind them, that's Ossazito down the inside of Luis Matijevich into turn 1. I was going to watch Karpu, I think, was shaping up a move on Jaquita, but it's the Alpine trying to hold on here. I think Ossazito's got his number really tight, almost contact, as they head through turn 3. The Ferrari muscling his way through, and Matijevich on the back foot, still under the cosh, this time from the lead McLaren now. Kazil started 10th, could find himself inside the top 4 as he sends a move to the inside of turn 6. Matijevich breaking late on the outside line. Bit of a wobble for Kazizel in the traction zone. Just puts pay to that attack as he stays in P5, tucked up underneath the rear wing of the Alpine.
Yeah, Matijevich seemed to really struggle with the battery there, and that really halted his progress. And Otsazito, with a little bit more battery, was able to use that and use that pace to get up to P3 onto the podium. And so that is a really good job from the Ferrari. And let's see if he can manage the battery more. And it looks like Louis Matijevich used a little bit too much on this back straight last lap, and that really made him vulnerable down to turn 1.
Eventually got himself past Finlay, but that was only courtesy of a Finlay mistake just in front. Gap out in front staying the same, around 2.7 seconds. Big squeeze from Matijevich as Kazizel lays his cars down on the track. To the inside of turn 14 we go. Little bit late on the brakes as he slides ever so slightly wide. Brings Matijevich back into the equation, but he's got the traction on the exit of 14 to keep the Alpine at bay. Really nice move there as Jaquita runs off the road through the final corner. It's now McLaren, Alpine, McLaren in this scrap, with Otsazito moving forward again. Matijevich goes heavily defensive. Finlay can't force his way, barrel his way down the inside, still looking to put his nose in a place he's not welcome through turn 2. Matijevich staunch in his defence of these places, keeps one McLaren at bay, but Kazizel is now off.
Yep, whilst Kazizel going up to P4, Finlay is struggling down in P6. So it was a great start for Kazizel, although making that mistake just there. So up 6 positions from 10th. He's doing a great job as here comes Jaquita up the inside for 7th. Jaquita having a bad start, but trying to make some progress back up the grid. And Jaquita up to 7th, using a bit of battery there in that middle sector to make a move. But let's see if he will have enough battery to hold that position going onto the back straight.
Position changing all over the show. Just behind this little group, Lucas up to 11th at the expense of Polimaki. Lock up this time, Luis Matijevic into turn 11. Under pressure because he's 1.1 seconds off the back of Kazizel. This Alpine really struggling. Must have absolutely no battery. Well, he's saved it all up, so he hasn't been using any battery, but he won't have the benefit of the overtake mode potentially. I'm not sure the gap when he was overtaken by Kazizel, but Finlay to the outside now. Once again, Matijevic has to go defensive, but the McLaren just has him absolutely covered. Easy as you like with the benefit of the straight line speed. Just behind the two Racing Bulls going into combat. Slide from Tony Rochelle on those hard compound tyres. Might just let his teammate back through and does. With 3 wide in the very background is Pierre Sharp to the inside of the final corner. Puts one over on Predestinato and Polimaki to pick up a couple of places. Now though he's out of battery, he's out of juice. Here comes the Cadillac once again. Easy to the outside. Polimaki trying to follow through as the Aston Martin gets out of the way. Yellow flags might not help the cause of this battling trio through turns 1, 2 and 3. Predestinato rolling roadblock in the middle of the road. Pierre Sharp the long way round. Still the Racing Bulls battle. Absolute bedlam still going on in front. Tony Richet past his teammate. Milan Diorsi getting involved. Finlay, I think, getting it from all angles. Chiquita and Matijevic. Finlay's up in the air and he's thrown off the road. Damage, I think, for Matijevic as well. Onto the grass goes one of the Racing Bulls. Both of them come together. Both of them somehow not upside down after that contact. Milan Diorsi now enters into the fray. Up to P7 out of absolutely nowhere. Matijevic still trying to recover. Finlay down to 14th. What a chaotic sequence of corners with Chiquita now into the top 5, and I don't think this battle's going to end very shortly.
Yep, it's absolutely carnage for 2v cars colliding. McLaren and Finlay going up in the air. He was pinched from both sides, from the Audi and the Alpine, and that really cost him lots of time, down to 14th. So that is a terrible lap for Finlay, as here comes the Audi of Milan. Diorsi, he's up, what is it? He's up 12 positions, up to P6 now. So that is a great start from Milan Diorsi, and for Audi 5th and 6th, that's a great start for them. And wow, that was a chaotic lap with everything going on. Finlay getting pinched, and that made everyone, it was almost like a ripple effect with everyone getting extremely close. As here comes the Alpine now. Louis Matijevic going for it. He's down to 8th after fighting for 4th earlier.
And the two Audis dropping places as well. Diorsi through on Chiquita. Whether that was choreographed or not 100% sure. But from 18th on the grid, start of lap 9, Milan Diorsi now finds themselves inside the top 5. Chiquita from Tony Rocher, who got past Luis Matijevic into turn 1. Then comes Lucas, Predestinato, Pierre Sharp and Polimaki in this enormous train. Carp jumping out of it. He was disembarking as he jumped onto the hard compound tyres. Kevin retires, and there is a safety car. I'm not sure if that's thrown into the wall there, coming out of the final corner, but we have got ourselves a safety car, and that completely eradicates the lead that Melwin Efferman has. But it will bring everybody back together, and it should bring everybody onto the hard tyres to the end of the race.
Yeah, this is going to really cost Tony Richet, because he opted to start in the hards, and now he's going to have to probably box onto the mediums, but those mediums are probably not going to get to the end from here. He's going to have to do 18, maybe 19 laps on those mediums. I don't think that's going to be very fast if he wants to get to the end, and yeah, that's really going to cost Tony Richet, but it's going to be good stuff for Matt, who is going to get right back on the back of Melwin here on the safety car, and this kind of ruins the strategy a little bit because everyone is going to box for the hard compound tyres.
As I just try and very quickly swallow a glug of water. Into the pits comes Melwin Efferman, end of lap number 9. Everybody's going to file in, you would expect. Tony Richet surely has to come in as well. Chiquita back in the pack up to try and make space, courtesy of his teammate being in front. If he did let Milan Diorsi through, going to be regretting that one now because he's having to back off massively to make sure he doesn't lose too much time, queuing behind his teammate in the box. Melwin from Matt from Odsazito still, then Kazizel out on the hard compound tyres as well. Tony Richet, got to be mediums you would expect, yes, getting a front wing change as well. Wonder if Luis Matijevic had a bit of damage as I tried to pick the Alpine up. No front wing change there, so it must have been Tony Richet that the bits of carbon fibre started flying off when the owl kicked off. Coming out of turn number 6. Lucas, though, has managed to somehow get himself up into P6. And I'm looking for Chiquita. Yeah, has been held significantly. Now down into 12th. Tony Richet in P10 on his set of medium compound tyres. The big loser being Karp, pitting just before the safety car came out. And there is your championship leader, Finlay, in the thick of it, in those opening 9 laps, now finding himself 14th, but with an opportunity to get himself back in the game.
Yeah, exactly, and I'm pretty sure Jaquita did actually have damage because on my screen he was changing his front wing in the box plus the double stack. That really cost him. But praise has got to go to Milan Diorsi. He went from P14 was it up to P5 at the moment and ahead of his teammate. So he completely earned that call to be able to box P18. Sorry, he's gone. So yeah, that's a great job from him. Lucas also gone from P16 up to P6. So that's also a great job for the Mercedes man. So yeah. A great job from Milan, but the likes of Jaquita really cost with the double stack.
And for Tony Richet, you feel if there's not another safety car, which I would say is unlikely that there will be another one, because I don't remember the last time we saw a safety car in PSGL, PSF1. He's going to be a little bit screwed on those medium tyres. But with all of the racing that we've seen going on in these first 10 laps, the first 9 laps before Bernd Mailander made an appearance, we could very easily have another safety car, because we turned it all the way up to 11 with some of the battles. It was absolute carnage. Yes, there's a little bit of desync going on. Yes, Gio, there is some desync going on and a bit of lag involved with some of the collisions that we've seen. As Tony Richet, I thought he might do this, back into the pits, probably to put on a brand new set of hard compound tyres, give up the track position and keep himself in the game.
Yeah, that's a shame for him, but that's a risk you take starting on the hard compound tyres because, yeah, the safety car was coming, whether that was a natural safety car or if Kevin deliberately did that, we'll have to wait and see with the clips. But yeah, that really cost Tony Richet. He's going to go right to the back of this grid, only down to 15th though, because the Haas and the Aston Martin are pretty much a lap down, so they're really struggling in this race. And right now on Lifeboat, they did so well last time out, it's got to be said, but this week they're just absolutely nowhere, and they are a lap down, really struggling. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that, but terrible luck for Tony Richet.
You can see the positional changes there. Melvin Effman, the only one still in his starting spot. Matt from third on the grid up to second, swapping with Otsazita, who fell as low as 8th at one stage, but has worked his way back up inside the top 3. Kizizel from 10th up 6th into 4th. And then the big movers. Milan Diorsi from 18th up to 5th. Lucas from 16th up to 6th. And Luis Matijevic as well, who's been in the wars massively, up 1 place from 8th on the grid as well. The big losers further down. Jaquita started 4th, now 11th. Finlay started 6th, now 13th. And Tony Richet with that compromised strategy, having to pit again onto the hard tyres once more, down 6 places from P9. What I'd be interested with Tony Richet is, and obviously we don't know his tyre allocation, whether he selected 2 sets of the hard compound tyres, whether he chose the harder allocation, and that is a brand new set. I'd be surprised if it wasn't a brand new set, because doing 26 laps on a set of hard tyres is difficult, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, definitely. I think he did the right decision to box there, because if not, he was not getting those mediums to the end. So he had to really box onto the hards, whether he went the hard allocation. So he has the new hards. We'll have to wait and see whether his pace is any good on those hards. So yeah, unfortunate for him once again, but this safety car really equalizes everything, everyone on the hards now, so it's going to be all about pace, all about racecraft. What can you do? And with the battery management, we saw so much chaos in that middle sector. So yeah, let's see. With Finlay down 7 positions, down to 13th, with championship leader at the moment, so let's see what he can do from 13th. Of course, lagging quite a bit, which has caused some desync and caused him to go up into the air today. So yeah, let's see what he can do from 13th.
Like you mentioned as well, not great for the 2 Aston Martins, who I think are now back on the lead lap and have an opportunity to go once again. So 18 runners still going. Kevin, the only retiree, whether he dropped it out of the final corner or decided that he wanted to end his day slightly early, only he will know at this stage. But we did see a safety car come out for the first time in a long time before half distance. And it was absolutely kicking off. If you missed it before the safety car came out, absolute carnage going on in the lower reaches of the top 10. Contact all over the show. Cars being thrown up in the air. Ferraris backwards, both of them on the opening lap. We are getting ready to go once again. The safety car will be in this lap, and I highly doubt Melwin Effman will be given the absolute free run at the front of the field as he was at the very start of this race. I think he's just going to have to work a little bit harder now. Had a big buffer of over 2.5 seconds for the first 10 or so laps. That is now nil. He's going to have to try and work it back once more.
Yep, it's going to be all about when he decides to go. Will he go out from the final corner, or will he go before that? It's going to be really interesting and really crucial for Melwin to get this right, because if not, he's going to be pressured by Matt into the first corner. So let's see what Melwin does. Of course, everyone weaving their tyres, trying to get heat into their new hard compound tyres, as Melwin looking and waiting and thinking about when he's going to go. He is looking, and yeah, let's see.
Holds it, coming out of turn 14 and 15. Still weaving hard to try and fire up those hard compound tyres. Gets as much temperature as you possibly can. I think he punches it on the run into the final corner. And to start lap 13, we are underway once again with Melwin Effman leading Matt. We've got a car off in the background already. I think that's Finlay getting embroiled with a Mercedes, potentially the Aston Martins as well. Big problems, big dramas and contact. Otsazito into the side of Matt. Bit of a push to pass. The Ferrari's going to make his way through. Not good news for Matt as he loses out there. And Melwin Effman maybe once again with an opportunity to run away out in front. Finlay was definitely off the road. Two Aston Martins still at the back. Maybe a lap down, maybe not. Ducking wing behind the Ferrari is Matt trying to look which way in that to get a position back. Otsazito little bit wobbly out of turn 6. Kazizlman and Diorsi still inside the top 5. A little bit calmer this time though, although still a few fireworks.
Yeah, Matt went extremely wide into turn 1, and that left Otsazito to put his nose in down the inside, made a little bit of contact, but overall relatively clean up to P2 for Otsazito, and critically Matt up to P2 once again, using a bit of battery there maybe, or Otsazito making a mistake, but this is letting Melwin run away once again.
Looked like that was potentially Otsazito handing the position back to Matt. Has left himself slightly on the back foot with Kazizl and Milan Diorsi right there. This is Pierre Charp, who was backwards coming out of turn 14 on the opening lap, threw himself out of contention. Milan Diorsi chops across the front wing of the Ferrari. Aggressive defence there. No damage, I think, for Pierre Charp. Now it's going to be a battle of braking into turn 14. On the outside is the Ferrari, given a shove off the road. Luis Matijevic having absolutely none of that. Keeps hold of 7th position. Pierre Charp, I don't think, will be particularly enamoured by that level of defensive driving. As we head further forward, Diorsi on the attack behind Kazizl into turn 1. Just gets a foothold in the battle. Looks to the inside. Kazizl late on the brakes. Keeps it pinned around the outside of turn 1 and 2 to keep 4th place within his grasp. And once again, Melwin Effman has been given an absolute free run here to run away out in front. 2.5 in his back pocket over the battling group behind.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he just has some great pace at the moment. He is just so consistent and so quick at the moment. He is just doing a great job putting those laps in. As here comes Pierre Charp once again, back in 8th, trying to overtake Louis Matijevic around the outside there, but it's not looking good. But he puts his nose in on the inside there, but not enough. But here he comes again. Oh, there's a little bit of contact there. As Louis Matijevic turns across there, but Pierre Charp has to hold 8th position, and he's now under pressure by Polimaki back down the inside. That's pretty deep. Can he keep it on the road? Yes, he can. Polimaki up to 8th. Pierre Charp going wide and pressured by Predestinato. Pierre Charp going for the move, now losing a few.
Gloves well and truly off here. More like bumper cars in China at the moment. Pierre Charp getting it from all angles at the moment. Predestinato, Chiquita, Karp still in there, as well as Tony Richet just in the background. Car thrown into the wall. That's Predestinato. Didn't quite catch with the camera angle. Safety car deployed again. But he was flung in the air, thrown into the tyre barrier. Front left ripped from his car. And he was pirouetting down the back straight with no front wing, not all 4 wheels on his wagon. What is going on here? Predestinato, the 3rd retiree. Sasha right at the back of the pack. I think he was the driver that had contact with Finlay, who's still running. Tony Richet into the pit lane. Luke up to 12th. whoever it was that made contact with Predestinato, they made damn sure that they were thrown into the barrier there. Whether it was Seechuk, there were a lot of drivers clustered together. Polymaki, Seechuk, Chiquita was in there, as was Karp. 5 drivers fighting over one piece of tarmac doesn't usually end very well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Pierre Sharp who was kind of bum drafting Predestinato into turn 14, but he just kind of misjudged it, I think, and Predestinato vowed into the wall, losing his wheel, losing his wing, and out of the race. So he's going to be pretty annoyed with that. Whether that'll go for Stewart's room, Pierre Sharp may be in a little bit of trouble because of that. But yeah, he was properly in the wars that lap. Pierre Sharp, he was going for the move on Louis Matijevich, and he ended up getting swallowed up by the likes of Polymaki, the likes of Predestinato. So yeah, it's a pretty troublesome lap for Pierre Sharp, and then ultimately hitting Predestinato, spinning him round into the wall. Let's see if Pierre Sharp actually has any damage. I don't think he does, so he has got that out of that unscathed.
Driving standards absolutely evaporating today from the word go. Lap 1, all carnage kicking off already between the Ferraris, between Finlay, the leading contenders. We had Otsazito sideways through turn 1. We had Seechuk backwards coming out of turn 14. Things calmed down a little bit for maybe 3 or 4 laps, and then we turned the wick all the way up to max and then broke the knob as we continued to twist it past that. And it absolutely went chaotic for about 5 laps, with Finlay getting it from all angles. The 2 Audis battling away. Otsazito, Kazizel, Lucas, Luis Matijevich defending like his life depended on it. We get a safety car, and we've now got a second safety car. I'm going to say this is the first time in probably about 2 years we've had multiple safety cars in a PSGL PSF1 race. That probably tells you what's been going on in the first half of this Chinese Grand Prix. The second one, if you missed it, brought out by what we think was some bump drafting going on down the back straight that was miscalculated, I think is the best way to describe it. Predestinato thrown into the wall. Front left tyre, I think it was, ripped from the Cadillac as he was bouncing and trailing down the barriers. Seechuk, we think the driver involved, but there were 5 cars clustered together, so very hard to know exactly what went on. But they were fighting extremely hard. Polymaki, I think it was so deep into turn 11 as he threw it down the inside of Seechuk. And Seechuk, I don't think was particularly pleased with Luis Matijevich's defending, and then a hot head for the Scarlet Ferrari potentially as we were converging on each other down the back straight.
Yeah, definitely. And that ended in another safety car, second safety car. So this is another problem, another thing to think about for Melwin. Will he be able to drag away once again from this safety car restart, or will Matt and Otsazito be able to hold back Melwin and stay within a second of the Alpine man? Because if they don't, that is just a showcase of Melwin's pace in this race, because he's had to get through a race start and 2 safety car restarts. If he gets through this and gets more than a second away, that is just a credit to his pace at the moment.
The safety car could be in this lap. Remember, on this game, the safety car can be called in incredibly late. So just bear that one in mind. You can see everybody down the back straight. Finlay's about 6 seconds off the rear of the Snake. And it can be called in. The split second, there it is. The split second Finlay gets back on to the train. So they're not going to have that long to back it up, but they've still got a decent amount of time. As we see the weaving once more, Aston Martin of Lifeboat gets out of the way, onto the grass to let Finlay come on through. And once again, Melwin Efferman, who's been the only driver, I think, to stay out of trouble so far, will look to extend that margin once again and hope it continues to kick off in his rear view mirrors. Led every lap of the Chinese Grand Prix so far, as he punches it once again into the final corner. And start lap 17, we've got 12 laps of the Chinese Grand Prix to go. It is Melwin Efferman from Matt, from Otsazito, Kazizel and Milan Diorsi, your top 5. The Audi already shaping up a potential move for Kazizel into turn number 1. Matijevich on the offensive, Lucas under the cosh, throwing it to the inside of turn 2 as Polymaki, though, attacked the defence very quickly. Bit of contact, tyre to side pod perhaps, puts Polymaki into a slide and just pushes him a little bit off the back of the Alpine. Hold that thought, though, because there's a poor run through turns 3 and 4 for Matijevich. He now has to go defensive. Battles going on behind. I think it's Karp under pressure from Chiquita. Still as we were, though, inside the top 10.
Yep, Carpelt was able to get past Jukita there, so that was a good safety car restart for the V-Car man back into the points now.
Big move, sorry to jump in. Pierre Sharp to the inside of turn number 8, stealing one from Polly Mackey, and the Red Bull can't retaliate either into turn 9. Big dive there from Pierre Sharp in the high-speed turn number 8 to get one over and get that place back from Polly Mackey.
Yeah, Pierre Sharp, although involved in the incident last time out, still looking pretty aggressive in that Scarlet Ferrari. So, yeah, he's looking aggressive in the Ferrari P8 at the moment, looking to fight Matijevic now in this midfield fight as they all get in that slipstream down into turn 14. Any moves going for it for Ferrari, looks for it. Matijevic looks for it up on Lucas, and Lucas gets damaged. Matijevic does quite a dive bomb from the Alpine man up to 6, but giving them Mercedes damage.
Driving standards going from poor to disgraceful at the moment. Luis Matijevic throws it into the side of Lucas. Going to use the term, used him as a bit of a break there. And I wonder if the Mercedes has a little bit of damage. Into turn 1, Pierre Sharp into P6. But he's running very wide there, carrying a bit too much speed. Lucas loses another spot to Carp in the Racing Bulls. These two locking horns once again as my controller's nearly out of battery. That's bad news with 10 laps to go. But Pierre Sharp does have 6th position in his clutches. Melwin Effman has managed to extend the gap out in front. Again into the back of Matijevic goes Polly Mackey. Carp into the back of Polly Mackey in turn as well. Chiquita battling away with Tony Richet in the back of shot also. And I think it's not going to calm down anytime soon.
Yeah, that was pretty clumsy from Matijevic on Lucas, and Lucas was having a pretty tidy race at the moment, but yeah, that's unfortunate. So here comes the V-Carb once again looking for the move down into turn 8, but nothing doing for Carpelt at the moment. But yeah, this is all to play for with Matijevic. Kind of a little bit slow at the moment with that dive bomb really sending him off, as Pierre Sharp is also looking quick. He's almost within a second now of the front pack to P2. But let's go back to the front. Melwin once again getting that gap over a second, 1.2 now, and he is looking extremely good once again to win this race. It just looks like he's got the ultimate pace today.
And Lucas does have a little bit of front wing damage, missing his entire front right wing end plate. Is down the inside into 14 goes Tony Richet, still battling away Polly Mackey under pressure from the lead Racing Bulls of Carp. But Tony Richet now inside the top 10. Lucas, you have to feel for him, not the master of his own downfall by any means. Lifebelt with a 3-second penalty, but he's a lap down in position 16. And Lucas, I think this is going to be troublesome. Did a really good job from the back of the grid to get himself inside the top 6, but just unravelling now after an aggressive move from Luis Matijevic into 14. Did not work out at all.
Yeah, exactly. But let's look back to Tony Richet on those medium tyres, and he is making some moves up to P10 into the points. He's once again right next to his teammate Carpelt. Let's see if there's any team orders down at V-Carb. I suspect not, with the way they've been fighting so far in this race. But Tony Richet on that unfortunate strategy, but he's going to look to go on the inside there. Carpelt leaves the space, but Tony Richet just doesn't quite have the grip to go for the move there. But he looks like he's got the pace at the moment on those medium tyres compared to the hards.
Looked like he did get the overlap. Very, very briefly did Tony Richet. Got considerably more grip at this stage of the stint. Carp trying to plant the loud pedal, coming through turn 13 onto the back straight. 0.2 per second off the back of Polly Mackey. Will it be attack or will it be defence for the lead Racing Bulls car as they all start to converge on each other? Tony Richet's right there, pulls over to the middle of the road. Carp sends it down the inside of Polly Mackey. Tony Richet has to back out of that one, sensing that things could have gone awry for himself. Still eyeball to eyeball. Polly Mackey and Carp out of turn 14, but into the final corner of 16. Polly Mackey still in position number 8. Carp having to back out of that one, bail out of that one, wave the white flag in that particular skirmish, and into turn 1 not close enough either to slide it down the inside. And Luis Matijevic, by the way, dropping off the back of Pierre Sharp, who's dropped off the back of Diorsi, spotting the smallest of gaps through turn 2 is Carp, then opens the door for his teammate to barrel down the inside of turn 3. 1 step forward, 1 step back for this group continues, I think Carp's going to have to be on the defensive into turn number 6 because Tony Richet really punchy here down the inside into the breaker zone. Contact between the two teammates. Lucas, despite the damage, manages to snap up the pair of them, gives Tony Richet a piece of his mind with a shoulder barge to the extremities of the circuit. Chiquita to the outside of Carp also. With a limited front downforce, Lucas has got, think, going to be snapped up by Carp once again. Outside of turn 8, inside of turn number 9. Fighting with one hand tied behind his back. Respectful between the pair of them through turn 10. Surely, though, Carp's going to get this one done. Chiquita shapes over as well, but no, Lucas for the time being still in 10th.
Yeah, that's a little bit rude from Tony to his teammate Carpelt down to 11th, but he's got one lap older tyres than everyone around him, so it's no surprise that he is going backwards just a little bit. So that is unfortunate for him, and it was pretty rude from Tony on those mediums on the higher grip, but still getting his elbows out against Carpelt.
Driving continues to go up to and beyond the limit. As Lucas was a little bit wide, understandably, through turn 14. Carp right back up onto his haunches with Chiquita. And the championship lead, at least at the moment, Finlay wide through the final corner, though, goes Carp. And that brings Chiquita into the fray once again. I don't think he's close enough to try it into turn 1. Both of them missing the nose cone of their car, which is absolutely lovely to see. Finlay just behind them in a McLaren as well. Remember, he's been embroiled in all sorts of incidents. Winner of round number 1 in Silverstone. Out in front, Melwin continues to soldier on untroubled. 1.6 clear of Matt, who's got Otzazito and he's got Kazizel and, in fact, Milan Diorsi to deal with.
Yep, throughout this weekend, Melwin has looked like the supreme force ever since the first laps of qualifying, and he has shown once again in this race that he's got the pace to win, and he's had 2 safety car restarts and a race starts. Here comes Kazizel a little bit wide on the exit of turn 10, and here comes the Audi on the inside turn 11. That's pretty close from Milan Diorsi for P4, with Kazizel making a little bit of a mistake there, going a little bit wide. Oh, that was close to Milan, losing the rear a little bit at turn 13. Maybe there is overheating, but yeah, Kazizel making a little bit of mistake, giving Milan Diorsi a bit of a sniff.
Oh, hold your breath, everybody, because we've got 2 wide, maybe 3 wide on the back straight. Chiquita, the cork in the bottle. Finlay passing Luke. Chiquita now goes defensive. Finlay to the outside for the 3rd time, gets his braking all wrong into turn number 14. The door going to be slammed in his face. I think no, still manages to spot the gap, keeps a foothold in the battle, but into the final corner as Polymaki picks up a 3-second penalty. Finlay can't push it past Chiquita to take position number 12 into turn 1. This is Tony Richet to the outside of Polymaki, who's just picked up a 3-second penalty. Medium tyres still working nicely for Tony Richet. Red Bull going to get their elbows out, but as we turn to the inside now of turn 3, Polymaki on the outside, a little bit of contact, but that doesn't dampen the spirits of Tony Richet, who now pops up into 8th place.
Yeah, that's a great move from Tony Richet, a bit cleaner than the one he did on his teammate, and let's see if Tony Richet can use this pace even more to progress even further up the grid. He's not showing incredible pace, but he's showing some pace to at least get a few decent points if he can keep those mediums alive, which is going to be tough for him because he's going to have to do around 16 laps on those mediums, so it's a long way to go, but he's the champion last time out, so I suspect nothing less from Tony Richet.
Code Brown for Lucas coming through turn 10, all out of shape, having to catch that a couple of times, armful of opposite lock to keep himself pointing in the right direction. That's Chiquita off the road on the grass on the inside. Probably some substandard driving standards going on once again. We rejoin Luke and Sasha dueling over 13th and 14th side by side into the braking zone of 14. Finlay locks up in front of them. Luke doesn't really give Sasha the space around the outside, who has to run off the road and over the curb, and the Haas with the elbows out keeps hold of 13th place ahead of Sasha. Chiquita now 2.5 seconds back down the road. This battle between the Haas and the Mercedes, you can bet your bottom dollar, will continue into turn 1, but Sasha not close enough, even though there is the smallest of opportunities. Throwing it over the curb of turn 2, gets Sasha alongside. Going to have to be the long way round through turn 3. Luke has the optimal line again, runs Sasha to the outside of the circuit and keeps unlucky 13th. They've dropped a second to Finlay in front, who's got 2 seconds to the next car, which is Carp, who's trying to put one over. In fact, sliding into the side of Lucas, who still has that front wing damage into 6.
Yeah, Lucas is doing a good job considering he has that damage to hold on, although Carpelt is looking pretty strong down into turn 7. That is very close. He's got much more speed carrying through those corners, but it's not enough for Carpelt, and Carpelt down to 11th after that rudeness from Tony Richet down to turn 1. So yeah, Carpelt really struggling as Lucas goes a little bit wide, and Lucas is off the track. Maybe a bit of a lock-up. He's now got grass on his tyres, dirty tyres, and that's a bit of a commentator's curse, because I was saying he was doing well, but he's now down as here comes Otsazito. He is up to P2 now on the inside, up to 2nd, and that is the first real position change we've seen in the top 5 for a long time.
Matt finally dispossessed of that 2nd place that he's held since lap 1. But is this quite over? Who's got the battery to burn into turn 1? Kazizel and Milan Diorsi still waiting in the wings. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren and Audi 2.5 seconds off the back of Melwin Effman, who's still very comfortable, night and day clear of everybody else out in front. Pierre Charp in a bit of no man's land as well in P6. Then Matijevic and Tony Richet battling over 7th and 8th. That could be interesting with the driving standards that both of those two have shown so far this evening. But it's Otsazito back up into 2nd place, considering he was almost backwards coming through turn 1 on the opening lap. I think he's done a very good job to get himself back into the fray. But this is not done yet. Matt's still very much in this, and there are 4 drivers fighting for the final 2 spots on the podium.
Yeah, indeed, it's been a good job from Otsazito so far. He qualified well, even almost getting spun around at turn 1, like you said. He's managed to recover up to P2, overtaking Matt there. So yeah, a great job from Otsazito so far, but I don't think this battle is over yet between the Ferrari and the Red Bull.
What have we got on the menu? With 5 laps to go, 4.5 laps to go, in fact, there's Lifebout, the 4th retiree, this one in the pits. Otsazito, 0.4 of a second in his back pocket over Matt. Will it be roles reversed from the previous tour? Can Matt get close enough into the braking zone? Milan Diorsi in the background just pulling out of the turbulence. And it's as we were. Otsazito from Matt, from Kazizel, from Diorsi. Otsazito a bit slow coming out of 14, but matters not as he's still got 2nd place firmly within his clutches. Kazizel may be under pressure a little bit here. Poor run through the final corner. Suddenly he's looking in his mirrors at the flash of silver as Milan Diorsi closes up to the back of the Papaya McLaren. Not close enough to try it again into the braking zone of turn 1. Can really suck you in turn 1, especially when you're racing drivers, because you're not braking that much, but you roll the speed in. Eventually you're taking it off, winding it off as you go through 2 and then 3 and 4. You've just got to be patient if you are going for an overtake there.
Yeah, exactly. And Tony Richet down to turn 1 got pretty close to Louis Matijevic. He fakes a move down to turn 6, doesn't go for it quite yet, but Tony Richet clearly showing a bit of pace over Louis Matijevic. And I saw down to 14, Louis Matijevic did a little bit of moving under braking, so Louis Matijevic will not let this position go easily, and Tony Richet is going to really have to work for it if he wants to get up to P7 here.
Yeah, Luis Matijevic, not been the cleanest of drives that I've seen so far this week, has to be said. One of a number who I think will be having to chat with the stewards after this race, with driving standards that had evaporated very quickly once the start of this race commenced. We've got a yellow flag for Finlay, who's off the road in turn number 11. We return to his teammate, though, who once again is under the cosh. Milan Diorsi closer in the Audi than he was on the previous lap, because Kazizel has to go defensive into turn 14. Otsazito and Matt continue to roll in front, retaining the status quo. Diorsi pushed to the extremities of the circuit. Not sure if he was off the road, but Kazizel does still have P4, ducking and weaving the pair of them into the final corner, trying to put each other off. Still ascendancy to the McLaren as they cut the beam to start lap 26, 3 to go. Melwin Effman 3, the magic numbers. That's the lead that he's got at the moment. Matt still 2nd behind Otsazito. Diorsi still 5th behind Kazizel.
Yeah, Kazizel defending it very heavily down to 14 and able to hold on to that position, and he's got 3 more laps to go to try and hold on to that P4 position. It looks like it's a bit of a 2 and 2 between Kazizel and Milan Diorsi, and then Matt and Otsazito for P2, but you never know. If Matt and Otsazito fight hard in these last few laps, Kazizel and Milan could pick up the pieces into the last few laps if mistakes happen.
Still very much all to play for in the battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Milan Diorsi started towards the back of the pack, let's not forget. Worked his way through the carnage that unfolded between his teammate, the two Alpine, or the Alpine of Luis Matijevic, the two Racing Bull cars. Finlay was embroiled in that, as was Lucas and Polymaki. Pierre Sharp, part of that skirmish that was going on as well, and could still, with 2 and a bit laps to go, finish on the podium if he can get his skates on. Good run through turn 13. Again, Kazizel will have to throw the defensive shape, you would think, as the Audi gaining all the time. Deja vu from the last lap. Kazizel to the inside. This time the dummy sold by Diorsi, who throws it to the inside. This time Kazizel's given the cold shoulder on the outside. I think returning the favour from the previous lap. Diorsi through to P4, and Kazizel's staunch defence of that place finally has to give it up to the Audi, who's through just behind them. Polymaki and Tony Richet side by side through the final corner. The Red Bull through on the Racing Bulls car. I think Tony Richet's medium compound tyres just starting to suffer. Back we go into turn 1, still side by side, just brushing tyres through 1 and 2. Tony Richet back to the inside and has it covered into 3.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Tony Richet, but let's just quickly talk about Milan Diorsi. What a great move, switching, doing the dummy and getting up to P4, and he can now fight for the battle for P2, but here's a battle at the back. Lucas looking for the move on Not Baloo making that move on 11th on the wounded Lucas with damage. So yeah, Luke up to P11. Looks like points are a little bit too far for him now, but a great move for Milan, putting that dummy to the inside and giving a little bit back on Kazizel from the lap before.
So Otsazito still in possession of second place. Matt might have to think about holding on to his podium spot as well, with a very racy looking Milan Diorsi just up, tucked up underneath the rear wing of the Red Bull Racing car. What has Kazizel got left in the remaining lap and 3 corners? Matt shapes over to the middle of the circuit. Double lock-up for Rod Sazito. Slightly wide of the apex through 13, but has things all assured and all under control once again as Melwin Efferman starts the last lap of the Chinese Grand Prix. Kazizel wide through the final corner. No, he's not, because he's desynced back into position. The Milan Diorsi still P4, putting Matt under pressure into turn 1. But we retain that status quo. Otsazito, Matt, Diorsi to the outside, looking to try and find any way to get into the podium place. He's got to be careful he doesn't hand the position back over to Kazizel. Karp putting one over on Polymaki, who's clearly struggling for tyres, as is Tony Richet in front. So there's a bit of a love tap there through turn 3 between Karp and Polymaki, who lights up the rear tyres. What has Diorsi got though? Well, he's got to defend, because there's a dive bomb from Kazizel that doesn't work. Slams into the side of the Audi into turn 6. Puts pay to his assault on position 4, and might just end Milan Diorsi's attack on the podium places as well.
Yeah, that was a little bit desperate from Kazizel. I think he just went for it down to turn 6, but it was a little bit too little too late for the McLaren man. I think that's going to settle him in P5. However, he is pretty close back to Milan Diorsi, but it's all going to be down to turn 14 for P2. Otsazito looking pretty comfortable. 6 tenths to Matt, but it's got to be Melwin is looking good onto that back straight, and he has been in control throughout this race, and he's done a great job. And it looks like Otsazito is going to hold on, but can Milan Diorsi fight against Matt here?
It'll have to be a late braking move into turn 14. Matt defending fresh air, making absolute certainty that Diorsi can't come through. Does he run slightly wide? I don't think so. But with everything that's kicked off behind, Melwin Efferman, the personification of perfection out in front, absolutely dominated the Chinese Grand Prix. Comes away with it with a maximum points of 16, plus the pole position, making it 17 and a full house for the Alpine car. Otsazito recovers to second ahead of Matt. Milan Diorsi, good drive to P4 ahead of Kazizel. Pierre Sharp ahead of Matijevic. Karp, Tony Richet and Polymaki, your provisional point scorers. We'll just have to hold that because the stewards are going to be incredibly busy after this one. But you have to commend Melwin Efferman, was absolutely brilliant. And as everybody else lost their heads behind in driving standards that moved all over the spectrum from brave to downright stupid, he was calm, cool and collected out in front, totally serene as he takes the win in the fastest lap. Driver of the day, most overtakes and cleanest driver for Milan Diorsi.
Yep, it's a great drive from Melwin today. Just did everything he needed to do, and yeah, superb pace, fastest lap as well, so just proving that as well. So yeah, a great job from him, a great job from Matsuzito recovering from that lap 1 spin by Finley. So yeah, a good job all round for those guys, and a good recovery for Tony Richet on the bad end of that strategy, from going on to the hards to the mediums and then back to the hards, but then back to the mediums. It was a long race for him, but he managed to recover to the points, which was pretty much where he was. He's gone from 9th to 9th, but that was not the story of his race.
If you said this was a race where the top 3 finished in the order they started, you would have thought a typical boring Chinese Grand Prix. Absolutely wasn't that. It was most certainly exciting, with driving standards that at some stages were very exciting. There's some really nice battles out there, but some of which I think can go under the category of a little bit disgraceful. I would not be surprised if there are some interesting conversations going on, because, not particularly impressed with what we've seen this evening, unfortunately. But we'll be back in a week's time as we head back over to Europe for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. But it's Melwin Effman with the complete performance, dominated qualifying, and has absolutely dominated the race as well. I think it's a Grand Slam, because he led every single lap, got the fastest lap, was fastest on all 3 runs in qualifying, and has absolutely cut the field in half in the Chinese Grand Prix. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And it's got to be said, it's got to be a shout out to Milan Diorsi, starting from 18th up to 4th place. So a great job from the Audi man, just getting those moves done and showing some superb pace, even challenging the podium at the end there. So yeah, he did a good job as well. And yeah, Melwin just showing pace throughout. Surviving 2 safety car restarts, race start, where there was absolute carnage behind. So yeah, all credit to Melwin. Let's see if he can keep consistent with that going into the rest of the season.
100%. And thank you for everybody that joined us. Sorry that the show wasn't quite as nice as it sometimes is, but hey, we have these days sometimes, and I think for some people the book will be thrown at them with some of the driving standards that we saw on display. But Ewan, pleasure to have you alongside me on the old social medias. Where can people check you out if they want to see what you're up to?
Yep, just Ewan_F1 on TikTok, and just Ewan Talks F1 on Instagram as well. That will be me. But yeah, it was a good race. I'm looking forward to more.
100%. Make sure you get involved now. If you're interested in what I'm doing, Wilco.com's Instagram and TikTok. But thank you for joining us. We'll be back in a week's time for the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. But until then, enjoy PC on Thursday. We'll see you next week.